Hey there, welcome back to High Infidelity, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to channel for more spicy stories. Now, let's get into today's story video. How to best handle the kids. Just found out they weren't mine. I've been lurking on this sub for a while, using this account since my STBXW would discover it on my regular account. I'm not too concerned about structure, but I'll try to make it cohesive, and I'll explain anything that needs clarification. I was married to her for approximately 12 years, dated her in high school and college, and haven't been with anybody else since. I was under the notion that she was in the same situation. We married when we were both 24 years old, and the twins recently turned 8. I just discovered out they weren't my last week thanks to those ancestry DNA tests. What began as an effort to alleviate boredom during lockdowns has devolved into this shambles. When I stated my interest in taking the exam, the STBXW battled me tooth and claw, claiming it was a waste of money. Her continuous refusals simply increased my want to do it, so I did it in private. Now I see why she was so insistent. I discovered their biological father's identity and tracked him down to a residence approximately 20 streets away from where I resided. We're so alike in looks and demeanor that I can't even look in mirrors anymore. Following my revelation, I moved in with a friend and had minimal touch with the STBXW. I intend to serve her with divorce papers once I'm psychologically prepared to confront her. My major worry right now is figuring out how to approach the twins. They are the genuine victims in all of this, and yet looking at them makes my heart hurt. Knowing what I know now, I don't believe I can continue to be a parent to them. They've been concerned about me, but I can't even hear their voices without breaking down in tears. How can individuals who have been deceived with children cope with the realization that their children were never really theirs? Edit. The twins' biological father want to be involved in their lives. He had no idea they existed until I hunted him out and discovered that my STBXW was married at the time of her affair. I have no reason to doubt him. Edit 2. Several of you inquired about how my STBXW responded to this. I'll write a separate post on it tomorrow. It took me virtually all night to have the confidence to put up this post, and it's already 7 a.m. where I am. Update 1. First and foremost, I needed to return home to pick up certain paperwork. As suggested, I had an officer accompany me and had a voice recorder on hand. Because there is no need for both parties to agree to being videotaped where I reside, it was entirely lawful. I returned around 5 days ago after speaking with my attorney and receiving treatment from my therapist. I couldn't see her vehicle in the driveway and couldn't determine whether she was still home when I arrived. It gave me comfort to know that I wouldn't have to engage with her just yet. What made my blood boil was opening my door and finding the twins screaming in the corridor. The twins ran to embrace me when they spotted me. While it wasn't unprecedented, the haste with which they did, it made me concerned about what may have transpired. Perhaps it was my attempt to divert my attention away from the anguish I felt when I looked at them, but I focused on why they were so distressed to see me. They informed me that Mom had just departed and that she was upset with them, that she was always sobbing and screamed at them anytime they inquired about me. They assumed I had fled and that I would never return. One of them practically dragged me into the kitchen and pointed to the floor, claiming that Mom smashed a glass there while yelling at them, and that the shards harmed them. I could feel my heart tearing in two as they tried to notify me of everything. Half of me wanted to escape with them and protect them, but the other worried about how the STBXW may twist things to make her a victim. There were no outward symptoms of abuse, but I am concerned about what may happen if it escalates. There was no question in my mind that she had been binge drinking. She has a history of alcoholic behavior. Her family is big on drinking. I haven't seen her drink since we were engaged, and she may have relapsed. I just had a few minutes to grab my paperwork, so I told the twins I had to go back to work and told them how much I loved them. I immediately phoned their mother and informed her that I wanted the twins to remain with me for a time. Her speech was incredibly slurred, so I knew she was already intoxicated at 3 p.m. She started crying and apologizing for what she had done, that she was a miserable person without me, and that cheating on the ideal spouse was a bad mistake. I informed her that she had to let the twins stay with me until she got her drinking under control. It took some convincing, but I was able to persuade her that the twins were better off staying with me for the time being. So the next day, I returned to my former home with the buddy who had hosted me. God knows how she got back there yesterday, and gave me the twins and started telling me how much the twins missed me, and that I needed to give her a date when I was coming home. I knew she was hoping the twins would entice me back in. She is unaware that I have already located their father and begun the divorce process. They've arrived with me, and the OM isn't aware of it. I kept reading the answers to my previous postings, and many pointed out that the pleasant atmosphere of our encounter was unusual and disturbing. I was too distracted by my pleasure at having found a nice individual to notice. I checked the National Offender Registration, and he wasn't on it, thank goodness. I dug even further into his social media, seeking for anything out of the ordinary, and discovered remarks from 2 years ago stating that he was engaged to someone. I can only guess the relationship ended since I haven't seen any photos of him with a woman or a guy in a romantic light. That was the conclusion of my research. I phoned him and told him that if he genuinely wanted to be a parent, we needed to be completely honest with each other. I told him I didn't know anything about his background or the kind of romantic connections he is prone to forming. I had to believe that he would be kind to the twins and that any future spouse he may have would be the same. I offered to do the same if he wanted, but he declined. If that was what I needed, he would do it. I realized polygraph results aren't usually reliable, but it was the only option I had at the time. The most plausible argument I have is that the cause for his engagement failing was the same reason he felt compelled to take on the role of parent. Maybe there was a miscarriage or something. We'll take it later this week. I'm assuming I can guess which questions he had to answer. But if that's incorrect, please let me know. Aside from that, my STD test came back negative. I'm okay. Seeing the twins all the time now hurts. Hearing them call me dad hurts. And touching them makes me feel like a criminal, but I'm coping with it. I'll attempt to keep filming all of our encounters so that the STBXW can't accuse me of anything, and I have a lot of recordings that she will want to see. Needless to say, I've also had a paternity test, and the results are in. I'm not their biological father. Update 2. The polygraph test went smoothly. STBXW was admitted to a rehabilitation facility. However, the twins discovered that I'm not their father. In addition, I moved out of my friend's house and found a home to rent. It was challenging, but the ON was helpful in referring me to a friend of his who was seeking for a house to rent. I thought it would be safer for them to have their own room. Plus, I'm sick of sleeping on the sofa. The polygraph test provided valuable information. It was reassuring to know that the OM was who he claimed to be. He was unaware of my STBXW's marital status and really wants to be a part of the twins' life. His desire wasn't as strong as I had anticipated. He just wanted to be a father, and none of his prior relationships had worked out. I heard through my STBXW's sister that she'd been admitted to a treatment facility and was on her way to recovery. At the very least, it would make serving her papers a lot easier. The primary difficulty, though, was that the twins clearly overheard I'm not their father during their time with their mother. I'd noticed they were behaving strangely since I'd taken them with me. They clung to me much more tightly than usual, asking me worried things like if they were adopted or if I was going to go away again. I had put it up to what they had gone through while with their mother, since it was so difficult to get them to speak about it. They would just ask the question and then run away after I replied, only to return and demand that I let them sit on my lap to watch me work or play with them. I'd attempt to talk to them about their sentiments, only to have them shut down and escape. I had made an appointment for them to visit a therapist at that point. I suppose they couldn't take it anymore, and one of them came to me weeping while I was sleeping and just held me. Sherry, fake name for convenience, was the one who clung to me the most throughout this time, which had been bothering me even before that moment. She was the sort that despised physical touch with a vengeance. Words flew out of her lips, but they were too quick and jumbled for me to grasp. It took an hour for her to calm down enough to realize what I was saying, and even then, it was up to me to make it make sense. But here's the crux of it. None of this is true, and most of it is based on my observations, assumptions, and patching together broken assertions. During my absence, their mother began drinking hard at night and became strangely missing. Sherry went down one night to observe her since she's the kind of drunk that speaks loudly. If my understanding is true, this was about the time I texted her that I knew the twins weren't mine, and she must have gone insane. Sherry said their mother was shouting at her that I should have been able to love them as if they were mine and not run away. So my reappearance must have led them to believe that none of this was genuine. My actions throughout their time with me, on the other hand, had to have worried them. They observed a decrease in my affectionate actions. They wanted more hugs, lap-sitting, piggyback rides, and so on, but I couldn't give them as many as I used to. I truly do, but I can't shake the sensation that I shouldn't be doing such things. I informed my therapist about it, and she said that's normal for males dealing with paternity issues. Only time will reveal what I am and am not capable of doing. My initial idea of gradually breaking it to them with the help of a professional has entirely failed. Now, I'm doing the dishes. They had their first in-person therapy session around 3 days ago, followed by 2 online sessions. So yet, no one has mentioned the fact that I am not the father. We've largely focused on what they saw and how it made them feel. I can't go into too much detail here, since the article would get too lengthy. So that's where I'm at right now. It's been a month since I found everything, and I can't believe how much has transpired in such a short period of time. I've had the divorce paperwork ready for a week now, and only need to determine if I'll still be financially responsible for the twins or whether it will be the biological parents' responsibility. If I decide not to be, I'll have to file a petition to have my name removed off the birth certificate, which means I won't be able to fight for custody. I will not deny that I desire a blood family, and that I want to be able to completely support them without having to pay child support to my STBXW. At the end of the day, I'm if I do and if I don't. I'll have to make significant sacrifices for either choice, and there's no apparent right or wrong answer. I must choose between having my own children and sacrificing the twins I've nurtured and loved for 8 years. Most of you are probably perplexed by this, but it's genuinely suffocating for me. Each passing second is like a noose tightening and tightening.